This video is part 2 of 2 parts about the Open Purchase Orders screen, working with purchase orders. Once you've found the purchase order that you're looking for, you can double-click on the row of the purchase order. Basically, you want to stay away from double-clicking here or here. These two spots will simply open up these columns for you, and this will pop up a window, and I will describe those two functions in a couple minutes. But if I double click over here on the job or over here on the PO number or even on the activity and so forth, I can pull up specific information and the detailed information about the purchase order. And in this case, this has one activity, one resource in it, triaxle, and it is the information, the order for this job. It has a number of elements of information about the purchase order: the job number, the vendor code, the address of the particular job or the home, who the superintendent is right here, and have a number of buttons on here that you can see, and one of those is print purchase orders. Another video will show you how to request payment. We also call that submitting purchase orders for payment, and that's what this button is about. I'll describe that in another video, how to go through that process. And then also I can close out of here and go back to the list of purchase orders. One of the other things you'll notice on this screen is you'll notice the little check boxes next to each purchase order number, and there are a number of things you can use the check boxes for. One of the things you can use it for is to request payment. Once again, I am going to go over that in detail in another video. The second thing you can use the checkboxes for is if you were wanting to print a couple of purchase orders. You could check them off and notice the buttons down here at the bottom, and if you were to print purchase orders, it would pop up a window. Oftentimes it will ask you which printer. In my case, I have several printers to choose from, and I would simply, probably in my case, I'd print to this one and just click the print button. This also shows you a view of the purchase orders. There are 3 that I had clicked on and checked with a check mark next to, so there are 3 in this list here. A couple of other buttons that you can use on here are to print unprinted purchase orders. And what that does, you want to be careful with this, is that prints all of the purchase orders since the last time you clicked this button. So let's say your process was to open up each day in the morning and come in here, and the first thing you would do is click the print unprinted POs. In this case, I'm not going to click it because basically, as you can see, I have a long list of POs, and I've not used this button as this particular vendor that I'm logged in as. But if I click that, it would essentially print the entire list of purchase orders. Or if I use it frequently, it would only print the purchase orders that I have not printed rather, since the last time I used this button. And the other button that I want to show you is for variance purchase orders. Oftentimes we will issue a purchase order with very little detail, perhaps only the purchase order number itself, and then later fill in the details of what is on that purchase order, what the resources are. And what you can use this for is you can find out when the purchase order has been updated to basically click this button, and it will find all the purchase orders that have been updated recently or have changed since the original issue on the variance purchase order, and it will prepare and print those purchase orders for you. And then the last couple of things that you can do here that I want to show you is when you're submitting, you can also double click in the invoice area there and type in an invoice number. Again, I'll go over that in detail in another screen, but this can be useful to some folks. This is called vendor status. If I double click here, this will pop up a window, And I can use this in a number of different ways. I'm going to walk through a simple example or two here. Let's say I have a department that is responsible for simply printing this out and distributing it to the appropriate folks on my team so that they can take the purchase order with them and use it to figure out what labor is needed on a particular job and activity. So I'm just simply going to put a P in here, put a little notes, printed on, today is the 11th, I believe, and just simply hit save and close. And you'll notice I have a little vendor status here, so I can use that to kind of track information and track progress on a particular purchase order. Another example, let's say, whoops, I'm going to click on the P there this time. Once that's filled in, you got to click actually on the letter to update it. Let's say the purchase order has been completed and the crew comes back and they use this. They say, I'm finished with the work. Completed work on whatever date. Let's say it's tomorrow. And they hit save and close. And perhaps that's kind of a message to the accounts receivable department that they need to come in here and look for everything that has an F for finished. And their task is to perhaps go over here and request payment on the purchase order in your accounting department. Those are the primary functions that I wanted to show you in this video that you can do on the open purchase order screen.